know why we're here if you read my little day 119. Okay, I'm back again. Who knows for how long? Let's try and get these delicious meatballs done and over with before they kick me out of here permanently. Seems the way the whole thing is going. Ugh. But we don't want to be kicked out because these are going to be delicious. So let's move into the kitchen. Okay, I'm unplugging here, and you don't need to be seen up close and personal my breast. But I didn't want to start in the kitchen. Hold on. The reality is I did kind of want to start in the kitchen, but it came time, and so I didn't. But here I am. I'm in the kitchen now. Just moved from that room right over there. Woo, don't look at that. Oh, it's not that bad. I'm packing, though. I don't even know why. Don't even ask me why. So first things first, we really want to wash our hands before we get started. You can see I have ingredients over here on the counter waiting for me. And I'm not going to, fib to you. I'm going to tell you right up front I changed. In case you were wondering, I changed. And the reason why I changed was because I'm going to have some grease splattered all over it, and I don't want it splattered on that nice dress that I have for sure. Put my hands here in the scalding hot water that I have, the dishwater, so it's pretty scalding there. But then I'm going to use the, my soap that I have here. Boy, that is not a very good look, is it? No, it's not. That's why I never wear this sweater, because it's just not a good look. But that's the reason why. I needed something warmer that I could push up quite easily and still, because here, look, see? No. Not advertising. Why would I? Okay, so now that I had my hands in my hair and my hands on my sweater. All right. Even with the soap again. I could probably turn that a little bit, huh? So you could see I'm actually am washing my hands. But I have a lot of, wash the dishes right there. Hand washing the dishes. Because I can't get any good help. But that's just kind of is that a first world problem? I can't get any help. Okay, so, better look. All right, I put everything out because it is amazing how you can't mix up meat that's fresh out of the refrigerator. Your hands will be frozen. It's so hard. And all you want to do is get it done and over with, and you don't spend enough time mixing everything up. So even the egg is really cold from straight out of the refrigerator. And so I had everything warming up by just having it outside for the last, not outside, but outside the refrigerator for the last hour. Now I have my meats, and the meats are the big deal, right? That's the big deal. And the meats are the big deal because, I don't need all these buttoned up right now. The meat's the big deal because it's Italian sausage, and you're making Italian wedding soup, and you just need some hot meatballs. Who doesn't need some hot meatballs? Hot isn't spicy. That's what I'm talking about. We don't need like meatballs that are like, hot. We need meatballs that are spicy, delicious, hot. So what else do I have here? I think I have everything. So, see, that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to have the crop top showing. That's why you're like, why does she have that button? Because did you see that? That's why I have this in the, I can get grease all over it. bin. All right, so I did just watch myself on the control panel. I have Italian sausage. I have 2 packages of Italian sausage. It's probably about 1.5 pounds. I can't really see, but I'm going to put on my glasses because they're right here. Okay, so I get this from the local butcher. It's really good Italian sausage. $5 a pound. I don't think that in today's prices is that bad. So how much do I have here? Oh, I have almost 2.5 pounds. So a lot more than I thought I did. Almost 2.5 pounds. And then I also mixed in here, which is a lot less than I should have. Well, it's 3/4 pound. That's okay. About half of what you have here. Less, actually, no. I would say about 1/3 of what you have here. Because if you have great Italian sausage, maybe you like, all beef meatballs. I do not. And that's the reason why not a lot is necessary other than to make them taste a little bit more, a little bit less like Italian sausage for spaghetti and a little bit more like Italian meatballs for, look and make sure I've got everything. Yep. A little bit more like Italian meatballs for Italian wedding soup. All right, so next. And I'll explain what else I have there for you. I'm just getting a bowl so I can start mixing this. So we call those mixing bowls. There's an awesome mixing bowl. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. Okay, so other things that I have here are I love this. This is the Chicago steak seasoning by Weber, and it should be Weber. Probably, it probably has a German name. I don't know why I think it is. I just do. And because why? Because we're changing this up a little bit, tastes less like Italian sausage for spaghetti and more like Italian wedding meatballs. I like my meat tasting steaky. I do. My meatballs, I'd rather have them taste steaky than hamburgery. So if I'm going to change a flavor in this to be more of Italian wedding meatballs, I'm going to make it taste a little bit more steaky. The thing that you have to remember about these is the seasonings is, okay, it's kind of like you can understand it with salt, but somehow I don't understand it with the Weber grill. Is that a seasoning, or Chicago steak seasoning? And that is, you only put in the amount that you're supposed to put in. Don't, because you like it, go, I really like this a lot. Don't do that, because what you end up with is just salty, peppery, highly seasoned meatballs that don't need to be that seasoned, right? So you just waste it, and then it's just like, oh, it's usually too much salt is the thing I taste. So usually, when you think about it, you really you don't want your seasoning to be too salty. For me, that's the biggest mistake I could make. If you want to know how to make things less salty, if it's possible for you to do so, put a potato in there, a raw potato in there, and that apparently sucks the salt out. But every time I've thought of it, I've never been in a position to suck the salt out with a potato. Because usually you do that in soups, right? You would put a big potato in the soup, and you could easily take that potato out and have things be less salty. I never tried it in something like a meat dish, right? And plus, these are, I could try it if I were to grind this up. I love the way they double package this as well. I'm so happy with that. I can grind it up, right? And then put a potato in there. But if I cook these as meatballs, how would a potato extract salt? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I never tried it. That's that long story. And The other thing about this is the Italian wedding meatballs is that it sort of is, as is every soup really, it is a great basis for storytelling, for family conversation, right? If the kids are younger, this is an excellent thing to make with them because, all right, so I cut open the first package, and I'm going to do that with the second one. Then I can wash the scissors and put them away. Remember, we are in DIY psychologists, we're not about making bigger problems, right, out of what we're doing. So the way to keep our problems at a minimum when we're cooking is to clean up, not to be like a crazy person about cleaning up, but clean up, right? Clean up, do some things that make your cooking experience less stressful as you go along. Okay, so I've got a bag here where I recycle my food, not recycle, no, repurpose my food scraps. So that's where I'm putting my skins from my Italian sausage, okay? And so as we're talking again, this is a great storybook recipe. I keep these available so I can set these things down as we're talking. And I know that you have to be able to see what I'm doing. So this is where we're at right now. I said I was going to take care of this. Let me take care of the first skin. So I sliced it down the middle. I'm taking the skin off, and I just have a food paper bag right there. You don't need to see it only because, trust me, it's a food paper bag. Just a paper bag from the food store is what I mean, food paper bag. Okay, so I'm putting this in there, and I'm going to, like as I said, I'm going to quick rinse these off, all right? Because I use this on meat, and we really do want to be extra clean with meat. I don't have to rinse my hands off, right? Of course I don't have to rinse my hands off. Why? Because I'm going back in more meat. But I do have to, that's what she said, but I do have to clean these up. And I'm not as diligent about cleaning up my scissors as I should be. I cut a lot of things without necessarily. But, a lot of times I think, oh, that's just a plastic bag. I didn't touch it anywhere else. The scissors anyplace else. All right, so I'm going to go put these away. Taking care of a little bit sometimes takes care of a lot. An example of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. What's she taking care of now? Well, the lights. As I should have before, right? Ah, I know, isn't it fun being in the kitchen with me? I think so. Italian cooking probably should also have Italian wine with it. I have an Australian wine. Yes, I have an Australian wine, which I really enjoy, and it's not expensive. Sideshow, and look at how cute it is. I like out of the country wines. I like imported. We call it imported wines. I like imported wines because they give me less of a headache, and that has to do with the tannins in there. So we're slicing, and it's that simple. Just watch your hands, especially if you have a good knife. These knives could be sharpened. They're serrated edges. They are Cutco knives, and I love them. So that's as easy as it gets right now. Sometimes I will wash the Italian sausage when it's in its skin. Sometimes I will wash it because it's been sitting inside the package for a few days, maybe even a week in my house. And it gets slimy on the outside, and that's what happens to make food bad, is the bacteria grows. But this is inside a skin. Your meat is inside a skin, so the bacteria is growing on the outside. I'm not saying it can't get on the inside. I'm just saying it's growing on the outside of the skin. And for me, I don't worry a lot about things like that because I'm pretty healthy. And I'm also of the belief that a little bit of bacteria acts as a vaccine against that kind of, against, a bacteria, in this case, a bacterial infection, right? So, I don't know. Seems like vaccines work on viruses, but viruses, as we all know, they are not bacteria. And we can see in nature that bacteria, well, can be controlled, right? Can be harnessed, like even in the skin, it can be harnessed, right? We have skin on the outside of us to protect us from all the bacteria out here, right? So you can see why making Italian wedding soup meatballs is a storytelling event. Now, this is my package of hamburger. I got ground chuck because I like juicy meatballs. That's what she said. Ugh, over and done. And look at that, is room temperature, and it only took me an hour. All right. Now, I will say that I don't have to, and I do have to take care of the mess, and I don't have to put a lot of spices in there because the Italian sausage is so spicy, as I think I've already mentioned, right? But I've got 2.5 pounds of meat. I would say for each pound of meat, I would have to have probably maybe a tablespoon of this. So of my seasoning, so that's what I'm getting, is I'm getting my tablespoon out of here. I think that sounds good. So let's do it this way, right? Look at my cool little things. This really, really cool. Watch the mess I'm going to make now. Oh, this is going to make me mad. Because I don't like to waste. But actually, I really actually do want to measure. All right, so that's 1 tablespoon. I could probably guess about another tablespoon. And then some. There we go. All right, so if I were to say and take a guesstimate based on that first tablespoon, I would say that's about 3 tablespoons of the Chicago steak seasoning. Okay? And then for texture, and I could have taken out a panko, but again, I'm doing the Italian style breadcrumbs. And the reason why I'm doing, Italian style breadcrumbs is because I want to change the flavor from spaghetti sauce to more of a meatball, right? An Italian meatball, right? So I've got my Italian style breadcrumbs, and let's see. I always guesstimate is what I do. I really don't know how much I'm going to buy, but I do know that this is, it gives it a flavor and it gives it a texture, right? And 1 egg to help with all of that too. I put the egg in it might need 2 eggs. I I'm thinking about it. So, sorry, it's raw meat and a raw egg, and you have to, you can't be a wimp. It's slightly better. Making it into something that's slightly better. Okay. Now, and it's just like a salad and salad dressing. Take a minute. Take a minute to make sure it's all mixed up. It's surprising to me when I was listening to that in one of the food programs with a real chef. He said you have enough dressing. Usually the chef knows how much dressing, and what you don't do is you don't mix it up. So you dive right in and in doing so, you don't take the time. You're impatient with mixing up the dressing. So you end up actually eating a lot more dressing. So just take the time. This is not because you end up eating a lot more meatballs. This actually is so you eat a lot more meatballs. See how that goes? Sometimes we have different goals depending on what we are cooking. But the time and patience and technique carries over from one recipe to the next. Okay, so now's a good time to actually, it's really interesting because I'm going to make meatballs, but I don't want everything I touch in between being ready to make the meatballs and actually making the meatballs. Well, I need clean hands because you don't know what else you're touching. Actually, you know what? I do know what I'm touching. I'm touching actually the same thing I've been touching. So what I do is I make the meatball. See, but I want to get things out of the way, right? So you want to get things out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do. Clean up a little bit now that I have these and get things settled for you, right? So I want to touch this, right? Ick. And I did. My computer, I did right there. Okay. This time I'm actually washing my hands first before I put all that raw meat that I have all over my fingers right now in my hot water. But I do want to put it in hot water, because it really does sterilize my hands. So now I can wipe that little area I touched. Turn this a little bit. You can see my dishes I stacked up there. To clean up my area so we could make some meatballs. Not Swedish meatballs. Italian meatballs. That's what you like this. Just thought you might be wondering. Okay. Scalding hot water. You can tell because my knuckles are getting a little bit sore. That's the first place that gets dried out when I wash my hands a lot. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm putting away my Italian, and that was really why I had to open up the camera a little bit and I had to put some stuff away. So my Italian bread creeps, whatever, seasoning, I want to put away without messy hands, or at least get them out of the way, right? Okay, now here's the thing. Now what you want to do is get yourself all prepared. Get yourself all prepared to make the meatballs. So what I do is I make them, when I make them, I put them in a little tray like this. So I only make a few at a time, right? And I'm almost tempted to put sesame seeds on the outside and see what it tastes like. I know, because I'm looking at the flavors right there, and I'm like, if I were to roll them in the flavors, how would that taste? Maybe overpowering, but a different flavor. I don't know, right? Thinking like that. Anyway, now's the time right now that you would be sitting down and making the meatballs. So let's go over here. I want you to be able to see me and the meatballs. So I think what we're going to do is I know it's hard for you to see when you are so you're going to see everything like that. Could have turned it the other way, but I didn't. Oh, that's okay. I had it high enough in the air. I just saw it. Oh, but that doesn't really look good on me, does it? Not at all. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, so let's see what I can do about that. So the fact is you really do want to get yourself in a place where, yikes. See, this is my food bag where I put the food bag in. The only way I'm going to really get to a place is not there. Okay. This is going to have to do. So, now that I have meat over here, I don't want the meat touching things like my gum. Right? Okay. So I have my 2 trays that I had my meat in. And I'm going to tell you something else. When you have raw meat and all that seasoning and stuff, your hands are going to itch a little bit. Mine itch a little bit. So be ready for that. And, yeah, they're there. Okay. And be ready for a little bit of conversation with your family as we are rolling out these meatballs. This is what I'm doing. There we go. Now we've got something going on. Okay. It is what it is. No, it's not. It's better than that. Okay. Set to roll out the... Never mind. We are set to roll out the meatballs. Not bad. But here's where you, maybe as a mom, are preparing, right? You're preparing. And I know, well, I don't know what my mom liked to do. I just know what she didn't do with me, and that was cook. She never really taught me how to cook, even though I called later on and said, hey, how do you cook this and that? So I got the recipes, but, you know, she wasn't one to sit down and cook. And I think that this, especially for little kids. Now, your biggest challenge here is going to be that they don't get too excited and that they roll out some great meatballs, keeping them all the same size. So for little kids, if they are little, and they can't keep all the same size, then you're going to get frustrated, right? So don't have them do it if you're going to get frustrated with them having it be different sizes. But otherwise, if you're not a person to get frustrated, you're going to cook them at all these meatballs at different sizes, right? So that is the first, actually that's the second challenge. The first challenge with young kids and the meatballs is getting their hands clean, because there are very few people that you want to have their hands all over your food like this, right? So you really have to trust the person washed their hands. So that actually is the first challenge for you in rolling out the Italian meatballs. The second challenge physically is going to be getting them all the same size. So I say the first one was getting their hands clean enough to roll out the meatballs. And secondly, to get the young kids to roll them to the right size, right? And the way also to do that, we all get exactly the same way. What that is we get impatient is what we do, right? We get impatient. And in getting impatient, we make our meatballs bigger and bigger. I'm not seeing this pile go down as fast as I want it to. So what do? We start making, and you can see I'm starting it. It's just a natural tendency to start making your meatballs bigger and bigger. So it's a challenge for little kids, and it's a challenge for moms. Now, if I were you, I would make sure that I just had, now this isn't something I did with my kids. Are you kidding me? I could never get their hands clean. I could never get their hands clean enough to have me want them roll out meatballs. And plus, it wasn't dinner like that anyway, right? We just did not have all that ample time. They were in sports and things like that, especially later on. But let's say you plan this. You're planning, you've got your organizer calendar that we talked about in Early Birds, and you wanted to do a family activity. I think that this is one of the, as a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a teacher, I'm many things. I think that this is a wonderful thing that you would put on your calendar and plan. And especially if everyone loves the soup, right? You might have to do it the first time by yourself. Actually, no, don't, well, maybe. You know what you do if you do it the first time by yourself? You know what you create in little kids? Not in big kids, but in little kids. You know what you create when you do it yourself the first time? You create interest. And I don't think there's any little kid who's not going to ask when they see you making these round little meatballs just like this, rolling them, and patiently rolling them, patiently picking out just the right amount of meat and putting back the rest, without getting too excited about it, right? It's all just a pattern of behaviors that get easier and easier. And what that means is you have more time then for conversation, because this does not take your attention. So when you have little kids, what you're doing is you're getting their interest in the actual work. When you have bigger kids who are helping you, you are getting their interest in the indirect benefit of making Italian style meatballs, and that is the conversation that you can have during this time. So you've got your teenage girls, because teenage boys would never get their hands clean enough, and they're outside playing sports or whatever. But you know, we really do need to foster conversations with our daughters for sure, because they are the gatekeepers. And so being the gatekeepers, they really do need some extra added advice. Being the nurturers, they need some extra added advice. Our boys, they are pretty reactionary. My boys were pretty sports oriented. I'm not saying that people aren't different, right? I'm not saying that there aren't variations. I can only speak to my experience, and my boys were just boys, and I thought that I would feminize them, not in ways that made them, necessarily desire the same sex, but feminize them in ways where they would really have some emotional stability. And yeah, that is yet to be seen. So now I have nearly a tray full of these. I'm going to use some grapeseed oil. I bought some spray grapeseed oil because I'm also going to make some biscotti, I can't remember, Martha, me and Martha were like that. We're on first name basis. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but it begins with a P and not a C. So paniccetti or something like, but it's not that. Anyway, and it has a Z in it, so Panazzoni. I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's like bruschetta. And so I'm going to make that as well. I forgot why I got on that. It was something about these. And taking time. And I don't know. Looking up recipes and making a plan. Maybe that's what it was. Who knows? So make a plan, put it on your calendar, but do it when you've got something to talk about too, right? Don't just do it to eat the meatballs. This is a conversation piece, in its truest sense. It's not the piece. So there is one. I actually need to make another set. So we're going to continue before we start frying these meatballs up. All right, we're going to continue. And what I'm going to continue with is not only making these meatballs, but starting a conversation with you. Okay? So our DIY psychologist conversation has been for the last, I can't remember, umpteen days, 9 days, something like that. On evolution, right? And and more specifically, the bigger picture has been eugenics. We have been talking in our Bookless classroom about historically what gave rise to the eugenics movement, which we know was the driving force behind Nazi Germany, but it was also the driving force behind the World Fair in the 1930s. I thought it was when they see how fast and how perfect the adult is able to make these meatballs after all that practice, right? I mean, you've had some practice, adults. They're going to want to make them faster and faster. And don't forget that the kids are also going to get bored after a while. They're going to be like, all right, got the hang of this. What's next? Kids learn really fast, right? Which means they're on to the next thing, and we call it ADHD. No, it's not ADHD. You can't expect a little kid to want to roll meatballs with you. And the only way that you can expect an older kid is by holding their attention with a conversation that they want to talk about, right? I'm not saying everybody wants to talk about eugenics. I'm just saying that that's where we're at in our classrooms. And so that's really what I prepared myself to talk about with you while because you're not here helping me, telling me what you want to talk about, while I'm actually rolling these meatballs, right? So, what did you think about that book, right? That life, how did we get here? Evolution versus creation. What do you think about that book? I can't wait. The Jehovah's Witnesses, I think came here and they were like, what do you want? I'm like, I want that book. That's what I want. What do you want? No, it wasn't like that. Of course it wasn't. I was like, I know who you are because you look the same. Oh, that guy looked like Birdie, and that girl looked like she's from SNL. I'm just saying. But they looked like the one actress who had her big boobs in SNL. Oh my gosh. That was the funniest skit I laughed so hard. I was going to send it to my sisters, but it becomes tedious when I've got a flip phone. But what it was going to be was that scene. You know, God bless big-chested girls. Because everyone on SNL, all those girls are skinny. They could play boys or girls. They're so skinny. They're all anorexic. All those women on SNL are all anorexic looking, except for, of course, the one black gal who looks, you know, pretty healthy. And so they were all like making passes at, I don't even remember who it was, some guy who was there. So the host but it was in a skit. So the women were all getting together and they were all making passes at the host they were at a restaurant or whatever. And the black woman, so that was, you know, gifted. I have to say that because all the other ones, they were white women and they were skinny like this. They were like that, like Ozempic was their favorite friend, was her best friend, right? And what does she do to entice the guy? She literally opens up her shirt, totally bares her breast. Now, excuse me. And they didn't show who won the fight, right? Who won the battle, but everybody knew who won that battle. That black girl won that battle. That is for sure. There is nothing about a figure like this that real men like. I don't know who likes that figure if you're male. I have no idea who likes that figure if you're a guy. I suppose if you're an actress and that's all you want out of life, or if you're a model in the same kind of, in the same vein, right? In the same vein, if you're a model, then I suppose you want that figure. But other than that, I don't know what guy on the planet wouldn't have been just like, yeah, let's go. SNL, black woman. They do have, right? They sort of are token black, token blacks, token Asian. They shouldn't call it SNL. They should call it Saturday Night Token. Just saying, SNL, maybe. You might get more diversity in your sketches. I heard that when Phil Hartman was there, it was Phil Hartman or The Highway. That seems a little skewed. It also seems like Phil Hartman may have come out of all of that with a bit on Breaking Bad. Is that what he got? All right, so you can see I have 2 trays filled with meatballs. You can't see it right now. They're not filled. I didn't do it that way. I don't want them sticking together and me having to re-roll. And I haven't, and this way I can do plenty. As in, I have enough of them. So, 2 trays of meatballs. And so now I'm going to wash my hands again and then move the camera over for you. And then we're going to get these frying up. So we've got some meatballs fried up before we... Oh, no way. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Oh my gosh, yes, I did. Yeah, I did. See, they're all there. I forgot that. I knew I took all the ingredients out so I wouldn't forget an ingredient. And I forgot, for me, the most important ingredient. I actually could have taken those and rolled them in the cheese, but I didn't. All right, I'll be back. I'm going to start that again. I don't think I can pause that recording. Try to pause it and then we'll go faster and then you can see an edited version instead of me re-rolling out a million meatballs. What she forget that's so important? That she would just throw those perfectly shaped, all evenly, all perfectly I don't know how to say what I'm saying. Cylindric. Like a cylinder. So what am I doing? I am taking this wonderful, because the thick cheese like this really is the best. So Parmesan cheese. Anyone who likes cheese knows that when there's cheese in a recipe, there is no, I gotta give Lucy some because it's her favorite. There is no substitute, there is no excuse for leaving it out. Not even if you roll 2 trays of perfectly, what is that word? It's not even though that is fine to use that word, right? Even. Since we took the time to add the cheese, we're not gonna skimp on it. And because I don't want to dig back in the cheese, I also don't want to skimp on it. So I want to do this like basically, although I'm digging in it, aren't I? Basically like one time. Okay. And now, unfortunately, we're going to go overtime on this. I would have had these done for you exactly in our hour if I didn't make that. The same kind of mistake I always make. Yesterday I made lasagna. Oh my gosh, it turned out okay. But not because I didn't forget things. So I put all the Italian seasoning on top. But you know what? It was delicious that way. In fact, I would choose to do that from now on. Because it gets mixed up in the other flavor. And sitting on top, the Italian seasonings, when it was sitting on top, it was really evident. I want more cheese. So I'm going to take the Scott towel. It is a Scott towel. I may have gotten a little bit on the outside of the bag. I'm not sure, but you always assume that you did so that you clean the bag off. Don't assume that you didn't. Assume that you did. Okay. Now I'm seeing a lot of cheese there. And breadcrumbs are good. I actually think I want to put in some Italian seasoning. So I'm going to do that. So as long as I had to mix this up with some cheese, I'm going to add a few more seasonings, which are Italian seasonings, and then do exactly what you saw a few minutes ago. Okay? Okay, I did a real quick wash on there. Because my hands are going right back in. It's easier not to touch it. Sometimes that thing is impossible to open up. So I don't want to minimize the Italian seasoning. I just want to minimize the Italian sausage. I want to maximize Italian flavor and seasoning. All right. So again, just like we said with our salad and with the size of our meatball rolling out, we might do this faster to speed things up, and I am, but you still have to do a really thorough mix, especially now that I have poured all those Italian seasonings in there. We can't have a big clump, like right there, of Italian seasoning. It has to really be mixed up. So you could do it faster. You can move your fingers faster through it. And for those of you who are a little shy about raw meat, you're probably going to need some more time. But I'm happy I didn't forget that, because this is a task, right? This clearly takes a lot of time, especially if you make mistakes. And you know what? I'm telling you, I almost always make mistakes when I'm cooking. It's what makes me just slightly above average cook and not a great cook, because I always make mistakes. When I was in 8th grade, I got an award for a joking best cook, right? Because all the way through school, when it came to baking something, mine just never, there was always the one time that the cake turned out, and everybody remembers this, the one time that the cake turned out that I made for my birthday, it slid off the desk in a glass pan, and the glass pan broke, and so we had to throw the whole thing away, because, you know, you can't have kids swallowing glass. So that's the extent of my perfect cooking. I am making these meatballs actually just a little bit bigger because I am impatient. But also, since I'm doing this a second time, I do realize the smaller meatballs are better for your Italian soup. But I end up eating these meatballs, all of these meatballs, before I ever get them in the soup. And that's the reason why I just called this Italian meatball soup, or Italian meatballs for Italian wedding soup meatballs. Because it's only about the meatballs. Okay, folks, you have seen this part. We have a few more minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about, like I said, getting the concept of using this time for conversation with your family, right? So, all kinds of important things that you might talk about. But again, we've been talking about eugenics. And I think the biggest issue about this whole thing for the DIY, as I said, is knowing your creator. But the bigger picture for eugenics is what happens when you don't know your creator? What are you willing to do when you deny that you have a creator, and when you deny all of the great big, what would you call them? They're great big holes, but, in the theory, right? Gaping holes in the theory. And then all they turn to is, well, you're the God of the gaps. Every time you can't explain something, you say the God of the gaps. I don't think so. I think you really need to listen to and look at what the actual evidence is out there. Okay, well, and so it appears from the evidence that the United States actually may have been, because they are so keen on science, so there is a reason for it, and not so keen on God. Well, there's your mistake, right? So there's shortcomings there as well. That they really were the promoters of the concept. And since the United States has the reputation for hiding every one of their missteps, right? Really diametrically opposed to what we learn from the Bible, right? Where they really have explained all of their shortcomings. So the United States, we're all under the false impression that they've never made any of these blunders in their pursuit of democracy. Well, let's start with the fact that we're a capitalist society, so we do not hold democracy to be an evident truth, despite the Constitution, which says these liberties or freedom are self-evident. So, what is this then? I heard somebody say the opposite of hierarchy is anarchy. Now, I haven't looked it up. I've thought about it, though, and since we're in speaking mode, and since this is the time for just to generate and brainstorm, I don't remember what I was just brainstorming. I got too much going on. What was it? I don't know. What would we have to benefit from devising a plan that promoted no almighty power? Oh, that's what it was. Anarchy, right? Anarchy versus hierarchy. So I didn't look it up to see if it's the opposite. But if you're talking about power, it is. If that's all that those two words are referencing is power, then I suppose, and it could be, I don't know, I didn't look it up. But it seems like, but I am saying, I don't think I say that we don't need a hierarchy. We do need a hierarchy. The hierarchy shouldn't be based on race. That's the bottom line, right? It's not that we don't need a hierarchy. Our families, I've always said, even our families need a hierarchy. That's why I believe in the hierarchy of the family, with the male having the lead role. If we didn't give the males the respect of the lead role, we wouldn't have our men. They just wouldn't buy into the system. The only way that they buy into the system is because they get the respect that they deserve in their position. And it's difficult sometimes for women to give men the respect that they deserve because they don't make babies. And when I say that, I mean then they don't know anything about the true importance of life. And that is well said, Dr. Feravich. That is well said. That it's very difficult for many men I think, to know or have a full appreciation for life. And that's why we see so many of these blunders. So there's a tray. One tray right there. I'll get the other tray started as well. So I did a pretty good job filling that one tray up. And since I did a pretty good job, I think, because I have a little bit more in there than I think I did the last time, because they're kind of on top of one another. So, and we can also work to do this faster too, because we're on borrowed time. I'm over my hour, but I'm not into my reading room yet. So, and because I made a mistake, big mistake, and had to make all these over, that's the only reason why we're going overtime. Now, with that in mind, here's what I always told my husband. Plan on going overtime. He would always try and make a weekend project end up happening and getting done in 3 hours, because that's what he felt like it should take. 3 hours. Guess how long it should take to make dinner? It shouldn't take more than an hour. Does it ever? Here's the thing women know. We always know. What you build into the plan are problems. Not problems that you throw money at, problems that you throw time at, right? So it just all needs a little more time. And that's all that it took. And since you might be able to do that faster, but you don't get better balls. Just saying. You don't. Okay, let's see where we're at on the tray of balls so that we could get going. So again, like I said, I did make these a little bit bigger, and as I am hurrying, I said they're getting bigger and bigger. So you can't be impatient with little kids if the big kids can't even keep their balls the same size. I think that was the word I was just looking for. Just all the same size. That's it. You could put other things, if you don't have great Italian sausage, you could put other things in the Italian sausage, like maybe a little paprika you could put in. You could put in and red flakes, if it's not hot enough or spicy enough. That's what they put in there, right? And then there's also fennel seed, so it makes it more Italian for you. And cumin. And cumin. You could look up a good recipe for Italian sausage. I don't make it myself. Because they have it down the road, and it's so delish down the road, from down the road. From our village butcher. Our local village butcher. I made that one too big. That one's now too small. So whenever you're in a hurry, like I am right now, you end up with mist-sized balls. I remember you, Jack. I saw you at Cottage Inn. You one of those big contractor guys? Defense contractor guys? Lawyer for defense contractor guys? What's going on? Jack? Okay. All right, now I really do have 2 trays of meatballs again. And you could probably say I did that in probably significantly less time. And I didn't have to stop my recording or even the very first time I've had a decent signal. Reconnected successfully. Awesome. All right. So we are about ready now to fry our balls. Fire Italian meatballs. And we've got a good number of them to get started with. Okay, I'm going to go over there, wash my hands. You'll hear the water running again to wash all that. And then I'll have my clean hands to turn everything around, and you can bear with me. So yeah, I don't know. I know we have a history of actually having the scientists from Germany help us prior to World War II with eugenics. It seems to me what we did was we got people who were already ripe for the taking, Germans, who believe in a hierarchy, right, in race, and then sell them or have that be the platform space for the eugenics movement. And in that way, we have clean hands here in the United States. And as I've said before, here in the United States, it is no, great big surprise, it's no great big secret that we have always tried to pawn off bad moves that are not in favor of democracy on other people because we favor capitalism. So because we favor capitalism, we have no problem buying into concepts that are power driven. And we know what power is. Money. That's power. Okay. What I'm going to do is I brought the meatballs over, the meatballs. We can't ever say meatballs. If they're Italian, they have to be a meatballs. Bring me over the meatballs. And then I've got my cast iron Oh, that's a little better, isn't it? So now I've got and I also have my cast iron skillets here, all right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray the skillet. I bought some grapeseed oil is what I did. I'll do it like that. I bought some grapeseed oil, and the reason why I did is because that's what I was talking about the biscotti. That's what I said. I'm gonna use this because I needed grapeseed oil, and the biscotti couldn't find it. It has to be 1/3 of a cup, but it's like, all right, well, that sprays pretty easily, and I can get 1/3 of a cup out of there as long as I don't keep using it on everything. So I decided I would use a little bit, because I could use a little bit of oil with a spray. I don't have to use a lot of oil with the spray, right? So I sprayed that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up on high because that is a high heat oil. Grapeseed oil is a high heat oil. How do you know all this? High heat, 420 degrees Fahrenheit, smoke point. So it's not going to smoke a lot. I can heat it up and it's not going to smoke a lot. Just to fry up and make a breaded chicken strips. Oh, so delish, right? But, it was smoke everywhere. And I was like, I blamed it on something else going on here. Not me. Although I cooked everything on high heat. So we get this thing going. And of course, we have to be patient. So, in our patience, let's do a little bit of cleanup. Food bag. I wiped off the cheese thing. Hopefully it was to your liking. Actually, I'm not getting that. I actually am. Getting a glass of wine. I was so disappointed that I broke this. I mean, come on, Italian meatballs, you need some wine, even if it is Australian wine. But I will tell you how I like the wine, which is like, you know, a kid who likes alcohol. With these cocktail cherries in there and that juice in there, the cocktail juice in there. Oh my goodness gracious, awesome. So I take actually, ooh, I gotta get going on that because I could smell it. So I'm gonna turn it down. I can keep that on there while I pour this. But I can smell it, so I want to turn it down. I don't want that burning at the highest heat possible here already. Oops. So I put those cherries in there. 2 cherries and some cherry juice. And we don't need to fill up the glass and dilute all that cherry juice. Oh shoot, where did I put that little top? Is it in my drink? Here it is. Okay, now it's starting to heat up a little too much. So I pull it off there, which usually happens whenever alcohol is involved. Just saying. That's good. I pulled it off the heat. I have it back on the heat. You can see everything. All right, let's go. We start them on the outside, and we start them all on the outside and keep them apart so that they get crispy. But we want to start them on the outside. Why? Because on the inside, they're going to get done faster. So get these meatballs on the outside of your little frying pan. Don't forget that little fingers are going to want to start eating these meatballs as soon as they're done. So don't forget that therefore you need to cook these up all the way. You can't be letting any get cooked later on in your soup, to finish cooking in your soup or in your spaghetti. You should expect that little fingers are going to want to taste test. And now the spectacular scent of these meatballs cooking up. Get them moving right away. Look at that. You can see that they are brown already. I really don't like putting this little thing there, but I can roll these pretty easily. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to play with these a lot because they will break apart. So get them rolling. See, I smushed that one. don't necessarily want to roll too easily when you've been cooking them. They stick to the one side and then they don't roll. Now you can start, after they've cooked a little bit, being a little firmer with them in the rolling department. And actually, to finish these off, you might even think about putting them in the oven. Just to make sure that you're browning these up nice and hot. You're getting the brown outside. So they're crispy brown on the outside, but still tender on the inside, juicy tender on the inside. You have to make sure that they're cooked through. But here's the thing. You end up getting then a lot of the meatballs on the bottom of your pan. And you really want to take advantage of that and not burn that, right? So let's take a look at this a little bit more right here. I have it off the heat now. They're pretty brown on the outside, but look at all that delicious stuff I have on the bottom. All that delicious stuff right there really turns into a really good gravy is what it turns into. Let me get these a little bit more cooked up. I'm going to put them back here. I can see they're not done, but I'm going to add these new ones. So the heat is going to be on the new ones and the ones that aren't quite done. I turn the heat down to about to medium low. I'll get the rest of these cooked up. Oh my goodness gracious, I can't tell you how good this smells. Now the danger here always is going to be, like I said, burning all those scrapings that are on the bottom of the pan. And we don't want to do that. So I'm trying to get as many cooked as I can. Browned without burning the bottom of the pan. But then, what I literally am going to do is clean the bottom of that pan and make gravy out of it when I clean it. Now, I know I should be talking, right? But I'm not. This is the time where you try and get your kids to talk about something. We've already talked enough about, some of the things I thought I would bring up that we've been talking about in DIY. One of the things I didn't talk about in DIY, like I said yesterday, was the universe. We've got that new telescope out there taking pictures. I am skeptical, and the reason why I'm skeptical, there are reasons why people are skeptical. Some people have no reason, but I do. Because many of the pictures they say aren't real pictures. That they're simulated pictures of the pictures the telescope supposedly took. I don't understand why this telescope was, lauded as something so wonderful when we don't see that when they're simulating pictures. And isn't that a little dishonest? I mean, I know you say it's a simulation, but I don't think many people know what you're talking about. They just look at the pictures, too. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is make some gravy. So, and get that stuff off the bottom of the pan is the main objective. Let's get that turned up. This is also helping cook up those meatballs a little bit more. So, let's get all those scrapings off the bottom there. Let's add some butter to this. Let's take a sip of our wine. Because now we are real Italian chefs. We're just not making meatballs. We're making meatballs, even if you put them in your Italian soup. Wouldn't you like that gravy from there to be in your Italian soup? I think you do. Okay. Let's get some butter in there, and I'm putting 2 tablespoons in there. I don't need a lot, but I got this heated up and I don't want it to all melt so fast. So there's my butter. I'm going to cut it in smaller pieces. And then what I'm going to do is sift some flour over that. So here's my flour. Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you how good that smells. I'm going to put this over it so I don't lose all my water. And here's my sifter. Okay, there's my sifter. And I'm going to take a scoop of the flour. And that's about all I need. And then carefully try and spread it nicely to thicken up. Didn't even use all of it. And look at what we have. We're not wasting any of the pieces that fell off of the meatballs. Meatballs! And I'm going to start the next batch of meatballs in a very clean pan. I don't want to start over again with scraping all this off, so don't burn it. I'm moving it off the hot plate. I want to start with a clean pan with my next batch of meatballs. Now, what I'm going to do, oh dear Jesus God. Yeah, it is that good. It's that good. I'm going to clean up here, and then I'm going to let that sit while I clean up. Then I'm going to get in our reading room. You know, I'm a little late for our reading room. I'm going to get in our reading room. Oh my gosh. I will take those Italian meatballs any day to a glass of wine. I'm telling you, to an Italian glass of wine, holy moly, food is just really my thing. So I'm going to, I'm still covering that, but it's on its own heat here, right? So I'm not, what's this? This is my garbage can. So I don't have it on the hot heat, so I'm not worried about creating any more crumbs down there. Looks like the butter separated a lot. I could have used a lot more. I used a lot of butter. Looks like I could have used a lot more, a little bit more water. And a little bit more flour in there. I'm going to let it set. And I'm going to go to the reading room. I'll see you in, probably 10 minutes. I might be a little drunk. No, but I might down this before I get on the air. All right, this is Dr. Annette Feravich. We did something different in our DIY today. A lot of times we do as a DIY. I have food in my, you already know. I have food in the fridge. I had to do something with it. And this is what I like to share it with you when I do something like this. I notice that my recipes get watched more often. And I'm excited. I had somebody here that said, I like to watch you cook. Yeah, people like to watch others make a house a home. Men do enjoy it more than women do. Men enjoy watching women make a house a home. That's for sure. That's in their nature. Not everybody, not always, but it is in a man's nature to enjoy watching a woman make a house a home. And put a glass of wine in her hand when she's doing it. Holy moly, you will have that guy. I'm going to show you what that was. I don't know why. I love that. I love that. I need one for sugar. Humping your leg. This is Dr. Annette Feravich telling you how to get it done. A healthy way for your mind, your body, and your spirit. All right. I will see you back in the reading room, like I said, in 10. Where's my cursor? Oh, maybe get on there. Get on the cursor pad.